Fordham here. We're going to talk about polynomial division today, but just one term. As you'll see in a later video, there actually is when we divide by two terms, and if we really wanted to, 3, 4, 5 terms. But we're just going to focus on one term today. Now, what one term means is you're dividing by one term. I know, shocking, right? And some of these are going to be very easy to clean up, like 4 divided by 2 is 2, and from our exponents unit, x squared divided by x just simply becomes x. And some of these you may have experienced before, like 6x plus 4 divided by 2. Well, what you do is you just kind of look at maybe just the first term here divided by 2, which would be 3x. And then you look at the second term here, which would be 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And we're going to focus with this concept a little bit more because that relates better to what we're doing. So here's a better example of what you might actually see. So this is x squared plus 4x plus 3 divided by x. And we can tell it's divided by one term because there's only one thing on the denominator. There's no other addition or subtraction sign. So what we do here is very simple. We take the 3 terms, or however many there are in the numerator, and we just turn it into 3 fractions. So I'm going to put 4x here, and then a 3 at the end. And then what we're going to do is the denominator for all 3 fractions becomes x. Now, mathematically speaking, this is actually very okay to do because we're still dividing everything by the one term. This won't work later on when we do 2 terms, but for one term, it works perfectly fine. And then all you have to do is just clean up the mess as you can. Now, as you're going to hopefully see, one of these won't clean up too well. So, x squared divided by x, that just becomes x. X divided by x. Now, I'm going to leave the 4 alone for now because there's no number on the denominator to divide it by. Technically, if we want to get really specific, there is a ghost 1 there, but we don't have to worry too much about that. 4 divided by 1 is still 4. But x divided by x cancels out. So actually, the 4 just stays as is. So cleaning up, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to get a little tricky. 3 divided by x doesn't clean up. So, to deal with that, we don't. We actually just leave it as a fraction. And this is your answer. Pretty simple. Let's try a different example and give you kind of a different look of what this might appear as. So here we have x squared minus, or 4x cubed, sorry, it's been a long day. 4x cubed minus 8x squared plus 12x divided by 2x. Okay. Looks different, but in reality, we can still write this the same way as before. We can do 4x cubed minus 8x squared plus 12x, and we can just turn it into a big fraction. In reality, doing this makes it a little bit easier to do the next part, which is break it apart. So this will really become 4x cubed divided by 2x. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the minus in between because there's no negative down here. So in the answer, it's going to clean up a little bit easier. So minus 8x squared divided by 2x. And then plus 12x divided by 2x. So now all we have to do is just clean it up. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And x cubed divided by x is x squared. Minus 8 divided by 2 is 4, and x squared divided by x is x, plus 12 divided by 2 is 6, and the x's cancel out, so we have our answer. Now, it's actually pretty easy to check these. All you have to do is take your answer and multiply it by what you were dividing by. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So 2x times 2x squared minus 4x plus 6. I'll know if I did everything right because when I clean this up, it's going to be the original polynomial before I divide it by it. So let's take a quick look. 2 times 2, that's 4, and x times x squared is x cubed. So we're going to do 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8, and x times x is x squared. Then 2 times 6 is 12, and x times, well, nothing is x. And if I go back and look, you can see I've got the same answer, so I'm right. This is the answer. Now, let's do one that's a little bit more complicated to finish it up here. So here we have h squared minus 4h plus 8 divided by 2h squared. And again, we're going to take it and break it into 3 fractions. So h squared divided by 2h squared minus 4h divided by 2h squared plus 8 divided by 2h squared. Alright, so let's clean up each fraction one at a time. So h squared divided by h squared, well, they're actually going to cancel out. And the 2, since it's on the bottom, is going to remain as a fraction of 1/2. Now let's do the next part. 4 divided by 2, well, the 2 is going to stay up top, but we still have to deal with the h's. H divided by h squared. Well, we can take away 1h from both, but the problem is we're going to be left with no more h's in the numerator. That means on the denominator, we're just going to have h. And then to clean it up a little bit further, 8 divided by 2 becomes 4, but there's no h's to clean up, so the h squared is going to stay down in the denominator. And that'll actually give us our final answer. Thanks for watching.